want to formally open up and formally welcome you to this 14th Life Forming Leadership Coaching graduation ceremony. I see a couple of you out there that have been here before, earlier graduations. So, and some of you I've been talking to, you're interested in possibly the future. So we've got past, present, and future. Okay. I'm Dr. Les Brickman. I'm a professional certified coach, a coach trainer with Life Forming Leadership Coaching. I'm also an ICF certified coach. And it has really been my pleasure to work with these men and women over the past year in terms of their training. And this is a special time for them, and I personally want to thank you for coming to honor them with your presence and to honor the accomplishments that they have gone through. I'm going to be sharing with you, and then I'm going to intersperse them coming up and sharing with you also. Hopefully that will achieve two ends. One, you will not fall asleep at the tone of my voice or be bored. And secondly, hopefully you will not be overwhelmed by too much information. But before I begin with a little of my own background, I want to introduce two former students. One is standing here. Jerry Rawlings Owino is a former student, and he is a coach. You stood here last year, actually, didn't you? Yeah, okay. And Jerry has been helping out with this cohort. Over here on my left is Irene Maconio. Irene, when? 2012. So, boy, that's what, 11 years ago? Yeah, okay. So both of these have really been helping out in terms of the workshops and the What's Up group and fielding questions. They were always welcome to talk to me, but somehow they felt, a little bit more comfortable calling up Irene or Jerry on WhatsApp and asking the question. And every once in a while I got involved if they didn't know the answer. And so, and of course, with both of them, it's all other duties as assigned, right? There's that catchphrase. So I just want to introduce them. Irene is going to help call you up. Jerry's going to be out there helping if you need anything also. So just want to thank you, want to introduce them to you, and also thank them publicly. It's been a great year in terms of them helping out. So thank you. Okay. Let me give you a little bit about my background. Some of you know me better than others. Some of you I've just met or I'm meeting for the first time today. I have an undergraduate degree in the Russian language from the University of Arizona in the U.S. I also have a master's in theology and a doctorate from Regent University in Virginia Beach in the U.S. Since 1972, I have been a pastor, but I've worked bivocationally, so I spent 5 years in aerospace engineering, in research and development, and I spent 5 years also working in the banking industry in the U.S. So you wonder, how did you graduate with a degree in Russian and wind up in aerospace engineering and banking? Well, I don't have time to tell you today, but it is an interesting journey. I also taught class 7 and 8 and Form 3 and 4, both computer programming and computer math. And I have decided, and have any of you ever taught class 7 and 8? Anybody? Yes. You have to have the anointing of God with that age group. Believe me. That was more challenging than all of my other classes, and I've taught doctoral students and master level at Regent University since about 1995, both in the U.S. and in the Republic of Korea. but my challenge was was class 7 and 8. So I've also been a consultant, and I really moved into coaching. I was doing consultancy. I had finished my doctorate, and I got done with my degree. And Twyla was looking forward to me finally being out of school, right? And that's what I said. I think I need to take a coaching course and become certified as a coach. And she didn't know really what to make of that. But I moved into coaching in 2003, began actually doing coach training for life-forming leadership coaching in about 2004. And besides those in the U.S., I've trained over 150 coaches internationally in Hungary, in Bulgaria, Singapore, Malaysia, Botswana, Nigeria, here in Kenya. And personally have over 3,500 hours of personal coaching experience. My personal coaching niche, and I've asked all the students throughout the year, where do you feel God's calling you to really coach, to put your focus? My personal coaching niche is personal and leadership development, but with a particular emphasis on the use of psychometric instruments, such as the MBTI personality assessment, the EQI 2.0 emotional intelligence assessment, the Pyramid Personality Integrator, the FIRO-B with business. And I integrate these assessments with the coaching to help individuals both identify and develop their personal and their professional capacities. So I'm a certified MBTI practitioner, also a master practitioner, certified with EQI 2.0 as a consultant, and Pyramid also. So that's a little bit of the background there. Married over 50 years, and when it's over 50 years, I don't know, sometimes your memory, is it 51, is it 50, it's 52 years. I'm in my 52nd year. All right. We have 4 children, also 6 grandchildren ranging in age from about 13 to 27. And grandchildren. Yeah, our children range from 42 to 49. Yeah, so it's our grandchildren that are the young ones. Okay. Twyla and I have resided here in Kenya since 2008 full time. So this is really home for us. We've started Strategic Self Ministry International, which we call SCMI Kenya, SCMI Kenya, in 2013, really as a Kenyan society. And part of the original vision that we had was to provide microfinance opportunities for Christian leaders through professional life coach training. Now that vision, as most visions do, that vision expanded over the years to also include marketplace leaders. And what we desire to do is assist you in influencing, in catalyzing change, and transforming the sphere of influence in which you walk. SCMI Kenya is working in conjunction with Life Forming Leadership Coaching, which we call LLC, to provide professional life coach training at costs hopefully representative of and affordable within the East African community. Now, I said we're working with LLC. Maybe I ought to explain what LLC is. LLC, Life Forming Leadership Coaching, is a leadership coach training organization for relationally focused leaders looking for profound tools and measurable tools that they can use to catalyze change in their own sphere of influence. In 1991, Transformational Leadership Coaching International was formed for the express purpose of bringing the best of coaching into training organizations and into the executives of those organizations. After a research sabbatical on the future of leadership and executive training, Dr. Joseph Umidi, who was and is a professor at Regent University, formed a team designed to design and test a system that would accelerate leadership development and he wanted to use the values and methods of leadership coaching. Now, if you think back to 1999, coaching was, to say it's in its infancy is an overstatement. But over the next 5 years, our curriculum and training was refined through subsequent versions, translated into several languages, became established in schools internationally, in training centers, organizations around the world. Parenthetically, and I thought this was interesting, a little bit about us and ICF, the International Coach Federation, which I think most of you are familiar with, was created in 1995 and accredited its first coach training program in 1999. And that's when Dr. Umidi began life-forming leadership coaching. Dr. Umidi was trained by an early pioneer of ICF, and we were originally one of 5 training programs listed on the ICF website. So if you were looking for coach training organizations in 1999, ICF listed 5 of them. We were one of those 5. Today, there are over 1,000 organizations listed on their website. The coaching industry has literally exploded over the past 25 years. People ask, so what in the world are you doing in Kenya? How did you come to Kenya? Why Kenya? Well, in May of 2008, Sam Skaggs, who was our international director at the time, he received a request from Kenya from a young lady who wanted professional coach training. Now, you know, you can say coincidentally, but it was really the Lord. Twyla and I, as part of our other organization in the U.S., would make trips around the world to help train churches and leaders in various countries. We were scheduled to come to East Africa for 7 weeks. And so Sam asked me, would you meet with this young lady and talk with her and see where that goes? So while in Nairobi, I met with our first prospective student, and as they say, the rest is history, because she became the instrument God used to initiate this level of professional Christian coach training in Africa. Again, I mentioned before the hopefully affordability of the program. Many of our students take advantage of scholarships, and because of the symbiotic relationship between our organization of Skimmy Kenya and LLC, of which I'm also a part, we're able to offer our training at a reduced rate. This past year alone, we were able to grant over 2.4 million shillings in scholarships. So those of you who received a scholarship, you're part of that 2.4 million that allowed you to take the coach training. And that brings us, thank you. That brings us to today, the 2023 graduating class represented here. You are the fruit of our vision and our ongoing partnership with LLC. Now, I believe we have 14 individuals who have completed their training and will receive their official certifications. We have 2 graduates that are in the U.S. and are unable to join us physically or via Zoom because of our connection. Although the sister of one is here today, standing in for her sister. Is Kariga, are you? She's not here yet. Okay. But we do have one standing in for Anne, who is in the U.S. Now, the graduates today will receive actually 3 certifications. The first is their initial certification as a life-forming growth coach. The second certification is as a life-forming life coach. And the third is their certification as a life-forming leadership coach, which signifies that they've successfully completed all 180 hours of professional coach training and everything that encompasses and all the work that goes along with that. Okay, give yourself a hand. I'm going to have Irene call each of you to the podium here, at which time I'm going to hand you your certifications. I'll pause, so if your family wants to take a picture, friends want to take a picture, we'll give you a moment to take a picture. And then I'm going to yield the floor to you. I'm not going to hold the mic for you. I'm actually going to give you the mic. Now that can be a scary thing at times. But I'm going to give you the mic, and you have 3 to 5 minutes to share whatever you prepared, what coaching has meant to you in the past year, what plan you have for the future, how it's changed your life. Consider this, remember back to formation, the 1 minute message. Consider this a 1 minute message elongated to 3 to 5 minutes, not 35 minutes. Okay? So, and because some people are here and some people's families are not here, we'll make some changes. I guess we are going to start with Irene. And at least the first one and the third one on there, I think, are all here. Okay.
Why don't we appreciate Dr. Les for the opening remarks? And again, from his office and from all of us here, we want to say congratulations to each one of you students. So to start us off is Catherine Kamweru Kimotho. Why don't we appreciate Catherine as she comes?
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we can give them another clap.
Yeah, the thing about being fast is you haven't watched other people to see what they're going to say and adjust yourself accordingly. So now everybody else gets to adjust themselves accordingly based on me. I'm the baseline. So everyone else has to be better than me. At least I don't have anyone to compare to. That's awesome. Okay, I'm a reader. I like to read. And I've been a reader all my life. One of my favorite books growing up was Alice in Wonderland. And I've read the book many times. I've watched the movie many times. I've watched different versions of the movie very many times. And one of my favorite scenes in this book is where Alice meets the Cheshire Cat. And Alice is wandering around Wonderland, wondering which path to take. And she meets this cat, and she asks the cat, which path should I take? And the cat asks her, well, where do you want to go? And Alice tells the cat, well, it doesn't matter really. I'm just trying to get somewhere. And the cat tells her, then it doesn't really matter which path you take. As long as you keep walking long enough, you'll get there eventually. And well, this kind of defined my 2022 at the beginning, where I was wandering along the paths of life, picking up projects here and there, many ideas, involved in this and that, needing to drop some, but picking up others still, and just really not having any particular direction. And then I thought, like the Cheshire Cat, if you don't really know where you're going, then does it really matter which road you pick? If you don't have direction, if your purpose is not clear, if you don't have clarity on your values and things, then you just kind of wander along life picking up anything that comes along. I had a lot of motion, but not much movement in any particular direction, because I had not defined purpose, I had not defined goal, I had nothing really. I was just kind of moving. And one of the paths that my movement got me to was the path of coach training. Well, maybe one of the places God led me to was the path of coach training. Because at the beginning of coach training, from the very beginning, it became a journey of pausing, of reflection, of learning about myself, of learning about how to interact with those around me, of learning about how to serve others with the skills that I am gaining, and so much more. It has been a year of discovery. It has been a year of clarifying my purpose, my goals, my values, of setting goals, of learning so much about myself in this 1 year than I had kind of clarified before, and also of learning about the people around me. I have enjoyed immensely the journey of coach training. And now a fire has been lit in me. A path has been set before me. My values, my purpose have been clarified, and I know who I am, and I know where I'm going. And I know, more importantly, who I'm to serve along the journey. I recognize that I am a vessel in God's harvest field. I am a laborer with Him in His harvest field to bring positive and lasting change to those around me. My harvest field is to those who seek to know their purpose, to those who seek to clarify their values and their goals and to get themselves on a smart path. My harvest field, or my niche, or my dot, is to couples, young couples, and not just young in age, but young in marriage, so that they can have a strong foundation for their marriage and for their future ahead of them. So this is who I am. I am Kathy, Coach C, and a fire has been lit in me. Thank you.
You were worried about being the first one up talking. That was tremendous.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Let's give her a better clap. It's not easy to start. Thank you, Catherine, and congratulations once again. Next is Caroline Karetha Kanyuru. Karibu, Caroline.
So the reason I joined the leadership coaching class in 2022 is because firstly, I had time in my hands, and I was also growing in deep, authentic relationships through my church cell group. And since Dr. Les, who is also my pastor, was a trainer, I thought there may be more insight there. And these two reasons made me commit to an unknown journey. What I found there in that journey are some finger-licking truths that highly resonated with me. I specifically appreciated the perspective of Jesus, as the coach. Because I have a relationship with Jesus, I now realize this coaching class with Dr. Les has come to an end, but Jesus remains my coach for the rest of my life. I'm taking away the big message on building authentic relationships. I realize this is a big call, especially when I think of the common saying, time is money. But I also realize time belongs to God, and it needs to be stewarded wisely. Thank you, Dr. Les, for your patience and encouragement along the way. Thank you, Lydia. Lydia was my partner, peer. Thank you, Lydia, for taking time out of a very busy life to allow us to speak into each other's lives. Trufi and Joy, it was a short stint, but great leadership exuded from you out of the time we spent together. My wish for all of us is that we make a good mark on the path God has placed us all. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's appreciate Caroline. Beautiful words. Thank you so much, Caroline. All these are yours. Okay, so next is Calvin T.T. Eaton. Karibu.
No, stay. I'll be Calvin's camera.
Oh, okay. Let's take one more.
Thank you. Well, I know that being third on the list there, I think you've already heard a little bit about other people's journeys. I think for me, I didn't quite know what to expect joining the coaching. You know, I had found myself before in situations where I was kind of mentoring, I suppose, or kind of training young people, but I wasn't really prepared, I think, for my own personal transformation that the coaching course has actually given me. It's really been a year of transformation for me. I recall at the beginning, towards the beginning of the year, because I also attend the church here, at one point we were in a time of prayer with Dr. Les, and he was talking about, you know, that I was in this kind of path of transformation, and I was wondering, does he know something that I don't? Because it's like he's talking like he knows something that's going to happen. And I must say it's very much been a year of discovering of purpose, and a lot of things that it's like you have learned or seen over life. All of a sudden they've come alive and have come connected with some purpose. And you realize that all these little pieces that have happened in your life and these stories that you have, you suddenly are empowered with tools to be able to use them for other people. And they all start to make sense. And so it's been a deep walk of transformation for me personally, very empowering, especially in the area of purpose, of discovering dreams, and working those out. And so I'm looking forward to, I really feel equipped with a lot of tools with the stories that I already had. I really feel equipped to be able to serve other people with those. And I'm really thankful for my own personal transformation that God has done. And I feel challenged to make sure that, or somehow to be able to live out what I've learned. Not quite sure on some of those things, but I know it's in the areas of church, but also there's some business areas as well, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I feel it's a high responsibility with the tools that we've received and the equipping to be able to work that out, but I'm really grateful for what God has done. Thank you so much.
As I said, I'm going to sprinkle some of these testimonies in between all that I'm going to be sharing. Let me say a word about some of the distinctions that we have as a coaching organization here in Kenya. What makes LLC's coach training distinctive from other coach training? You know, you all had other opportunities, other courses, other organizations, but there is a distinction that we have here that I think sets us apart. Number one is a Christian worldview. Life Forming Leadership Coaching is the largest Christian-based coaching organization in the world. And it is the only Christian professional coach training program in Kenya. And we bring a Christian perspective and a worldview to the very way that we go about coaching. Secondly, in terms of distinctions, we have an international track record. LLC Coach Training now is available in over 21 different countries around the world. And our manual has been translated into 12 different languages. Now, someone may ask me, so why is it not in Kiswahili right now, since we've been here for, 14 years? Well, I don't know. But it has been translated. Yeah, probably because I would not be conversant with it in terms of looking in your manual. But we do have an international track record, which other organizations do not. A third area is that simply of academic excellence. The LLC training meets the criteria for postgraduate, master, and doctoral level credit. It has gone through academia. It has been adopted at numerous universities as an actual coaching degree program in the past. And so we have a degree of excellence that I don't believe is in other coaching programs. A fourth area is that simply of targeted learning. LLC training really targets all three domains in which an adult learns. An adult really doesn't learn simply in the cognitive, the head area. Adult learning takes place in the cognitive, the affective, which is the heart, and the psychomotor, which is the hands. And that's why it has taken you 9 months. Could we give you all the information in a weekend or 2 weeks of cramming all this information? Oh, absolutely, we probably could. Would that make you a coach? Absolutely not. Because that does not impact your skill level. It doesn't really impact the transformation. And what you've heard from students so far has been how transforming it has been personally. You see, as a coach, we have to be transformed before we're able really to work with anybody else. And so it takes 9 months and 180 hours and lots and lots and lots of practice, right? To even begin to get you on that course. And then finally, we are ICF compliant. LLC training is fully compliant with all of the updated International Coach Federation's core competencies. And as graduates, you may pursue a portfolio path toward your ICF certification. In fact, one of the graduates of our first graduating class really became the first Kenyan man to become certified with ICF as a PCC, a professional certified coach, which is the second level. And so I think those are some of the distinctions that we have that other organizations really do not have that set us apart. Well, I'm going to stop there and let some of you begin to talk again. Now, I know some of you are still missing guests. I'm going to try to pick somebody who everybody's here.
So Lydia Gatwiri Koros. Let's appreciate Lydia Gatwiri. Congratulations, Lydia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Les and Irene. Good morning, everyone. Is it good afternoon? It's great to see all of you and to know that, you know, we've walked a mile with the people here. Unlike Catherine and Carol, I don't have a prepared speech. There's one thing that I learned through this process. Dr. Les told me he has discovered I process as I talk. So that's just me. Oh, yeah, and Twyla, we process as we speak. But let me share a bit about my journey this last 1 year. I started the year 2022 a bit confused. I turned 60. I just turned 60. And I was wondering, you know, I was so sure that, you know, when you turn 60, you must retire. And the first discussion we had with Dr. Les, I told him, I just want to be coached into retirement. And that's how our journey began. But it's been a very interesting experience because one of the things that became very clear to me as I went through that process is that I still had a lot in me to give. And as you get to a certain age, you then are able, you know, to do things and to influence, to do different things through influencing. You know, as you get to a certain age, you don't have the energy to wake up at 6 and run and do all the things that, you know, many other people can do. But it's also the time and the age when you have acquired some experience, some skills, and some networks and relationships that then you can start utilizing to make a difference. And that was my key takeaway through last year, that there's a lot that is still in me that I can give. Now, one of the things that really influenced me about this particular program was the fact that we are focusing on Jesus Christ as the greatest coach. And I agree with Carol. a lot. Carol was my peer, so we talked a lot about that, and now we are modeling our coaching around the person of Jesus Christ. So even if I don't become a professional coach at my age, I still have a lot of coaching that needs to be done. And today I'm very pleased because my client, who was my coachee through the program, is here with me. And, you know, I told her she needs to know what we've been learning. Through it, I feel we can make a difference. And my charge to my colleagues as we go out there, if we model everything we do along the lines of Jesus Christ as the greatest coach, then I think there's something the Lord still has out there for us to do, and lives to touch and impact to make. So I'm looking forward to not retiring. I actually changed my mind, so I'm not retired. But I am using the knowledge and the experience I got into making a difference in the people that I deal with and in their lives. So Dr. Bless, thank you very much for influencing my life at this stage in my life.
Lydia, let me just say that 60 is still kind of young. I'm 71 and I'm supposed to be retired. So you can still be. I'm not out at 6 a.m. running, but we can still have tremendous impact. Okay.
We appreciate your client as well, who's made it. So we hope she will be joining us. So next is Audrey Kirote. Karibu. Audrey.
Okay, good morning. Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm so glad to see everybody here. Thank you for turning out for us. You all look very, very colorful. Hi, Trupi. So I'm very grateful to be graduating today. It wasn't an easy journey. I never thought I would do anything called life coaching. I actually thought it was just a fad. Everyone is a life coach, leadership coach, and I didn't know what that was. So what brought me here is a need. I'm a career coach and resume writer, and I help people who are trying to transition to other jobs, and they're normally very in a bad emotional place. They are downtrodden, they're not confident, they've been misused in their workplaces, and they feel like it's a jungle out there when they're looking for a job. So whatever I do, I wouldn't feel like, fine, they would go and get the interviews and get the jobs, but I would feel like I'm not sorting out their heart, such that when they go to the next new place, they are actually different and they will have a different impact and a different result. Because I'm sure what would happen is after some time they would still feel, the same dissatisfaction. Oh, these people are misusing me. So that is what brought me here. But when I came in, I started to see, like I'm learning so much. Like it's digging into me. We're doing a lot of dreaming exercises, and Dr. Les said Africans, or rather Kenyans, we have an issue looking into emotional stuff. So for me, at the beginning, I had a big block. Like I couldn't come up with content on the dreaming exercises, so I had to work hard at it. And there was the threat of, if you don't meet your assignments,
no graduation.
you won't graduate. So I don't know what. So I'm just so happy at the road this course took me on. I learned a lot through even Jesus as a coach and the dreaming exercises. I was able to identify my values for the first time. I just used to hear values, but I didn't know what are my personal values. And that was such a great discovery for me, because everything ties to your values at the end of the day. What you do ties to your values. what you dream or plan ties to your values. Yeah. Then another thing I learned is how to approach people. Like when you want to change them or change something in their lives. I would always wonder when I see something in someone and I want to, I'm like, it's itching. I want to tell them, I learned how to approach that, like we should seek for permission, from an individual before we dive right in and start issuing corrections and observations. Yeah, and very many other things. So I was also able to do a vision board for the first time. I haven't done it graphically. It's still in my notebook, but it's for the next 10 years. I wrote down some huge plans that I had never even thought about, really. And I did that on the train on one of my journeys here because I live in Mombasa. I've been taking this course online from Mombasa, but we would meet here every term. Yeah, once in a term. Yeah. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Les and Twyla and Jerry and Irene. Yeah. And every participant of this program for sharing of themselves and making it so rich. Yeah, so God bless you. Yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Stephen Mark Walker, you are next. Let's appreciate Stephen as he comes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was thinking it was alphabetical, so I thought with Walker I'll be at the end. So caught me on the hop there a bit. Wow. Yes, what a journey indeed, for sure. I'm an educator, but I've been very blessed and fortunate to experience other careers. I've served some time in the armed forces, and I've spent some time in academia as well. And in each of those careers, particularly education, I've found myself always challenging the status quo. I think the modern term is a disruptor, both in the classroom as a student and as a teacher. And I felt myself questioning, how can I expect others to change if I don't know how to change myself? And so my wife had done this course, I think cohort 11, were you, Maria? Or 12, somewhere around there. And I'd seen her go through this course, and I'd seen how it had helped her. And I felt, right, I should do this course for my own personal development. And so we started off at the end of last January. It's been a fantastic experience. Just to give you some brief highlights, the first module, again, has been mentioned, where we looked at Jesus as the master coach, and I'd never thought about the questions that he asked people and institutions and how he asked those questions and why he asked those questions. And then the second module, where we went through a life purpose project, procedure, and it helped me make sense of what God had done in my life. I'm 61 years old, so there's a lot of life to reflect back on, but it helped me put in perspective why he'd done certain things in my life, both things I felt were negative as well as things that were positive. And it helped me to really focus on and refine what that God-given purpose was in my life. And it helped me realize that the sort of culmination of that was a life purpose statement, which was to help individuals, communities and organizations to realize their change and their goals that they wanted to realize. And then the final module, the implementation module, where we got to practice on people. And my coachee James is here. Thank you, James, for being here. That was fantastic, just to actually then do some dummy runs in a safe environment, work with an individual, and James was so patient with me. I thank you for your patience, James, and that was a great experience. Lows, I think the low for me was those door questions. I wonder who else struggled with door questions. Yeah, hands going up. And it was funny, the one I particularly struggled was with the revealing questions. And it didn't click actually till after the final workshop. Because in my head, I don't know why, but I'd interpreted revealing questions as being something that will reveal to the coach something different about the individual. And of course it's not. It's about the client having a revelation about whatever you're coaching them through. So that was a breakthrough for me.
It was a revelation.
It was a revelation, exactly, Tyler. So, yes, my niche, I mean, it is personal development, but as an educator going forward, I do see myself as a life coach, as a personal coach, and helping my teams to develop and change, both as educators and in their personal development. So I just want to say thank you, first of all, to Dr. Les and to Twyla and to SCMI for facilitating me to go through this course and encouraging me through this course. Dr. Les, who's been a counselor, a mentor, a coach, and hopefully a friend. Thank you very much. Thank you to Speranza, first of all. Speranza is my, how do I describe Speranza? My Kenyan sister. She's been with me for dowry, for weddings, for graduations. So thank you for being here as well, Speranza. To James, again, thank you for being my coachee and letting me experiment on you. And then last of all, thank you to my wife for encouraging me and standing with me through the last year. Thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you.
I've given some background information, but I want to turn my attention to those of you who are graduating today, because today we're celebrating your accomplishments and graduation as a life-forming leadership coach. But what in the world does that mean? I have to ask questions. So what? What does it mean? What is it actually that you have achieved that we are here celebrating today? So you become a coach, but what is a coach? What is this thing called coaching? So I want you to allow me a moment to reflect back and help you define once again, what have you been trained to do, and possibly who are you? When we look at coaching, coaching is the art of helping people grow without telling them what to do. What a novel approach. Coaches are change experts who help us take responsibility and act to maximize our potential. Coaching is the discipline of believing in people, believing in your client, in order to empower them to change. Coaching is unlocking a person's potential so as to maximize their growth. While mentoring is my imparting to you what God has given me, coaching is drawing out of you what God has put into you. I like to ask people what the top 4 basic human needs are, and I get all kinds of answers, but I think, if you will think with me for a moment, what's our single greatest need? Well, take a deep breath. It is oxygen. We simply cannot survive for more than a few minutes without oxygen. You can test that out if you want where you're seated by just holding your breath. We'll see how long you can. What's our second greatest need? Most people will say, well, it's water, of course. No, water is our third greatest need. You can actually go for a number of days without water. What about food? Is food our second greatest need? No, it's really our fourth greatest need, because you can go without food for many, many days. So, what is our second greatest need? Well, let me suggest to you, it is telling someone else your opinion. Now, you think about that. Most of us cannot restrain ourselves for more than a few minutes from telling somebody else what we think. The weather is hot. The weather is cold. The traffic was terrible coming here today. The wind always comes up and blows the tablecloths. The graduation was too long. The food was not hot. We're all about telling and directing. Isn't that the truth? Coaches are not about telling and directing. Your genius as a coach is simply that you believe in your client. That is why, as a coach, you've learned to ask powerful questions, and you will continue to hone that skill in asking powerful questions instead of telling your client. You believe it's more important what your client is thinking than what you are thinking. You see, you've come to understand that they have the answers that they need. You don't have their answers, and in fact, you realize this. Coaches believe that their clients can accomplish more. They can accomplish the dreams that God has placed in their heart. It's your faith as a coach that will inspire you to coach and to help your client reach farther than they could on their own. You will simply employ superb listening skills, right? Superb asking skills to draw your client's answers out of them. And when that happens, their buy-in is maximized, and they will assume full responsibility for their own life. As trainees, you've received, as I said earlier, over 180 hours of training spread over 3 modules. Now, that alone sounds impressive, but let's remember that the professional coach training you received is the exact same training that has been used for years as part of the master and doctoral level coach training courses at Regent University and other universities. The only difference, you just did not have to do all the additional academic work. Say amen. Okay. But let me take a moment and have that, just sink in what you have accomplished. The formation track gave you basic tools, and it gave you practice in techniques and coaching values, as you've heard. It covered all the recently updated ICF core coaching competencies, and these competencies were reinforced throughout and built upon throughout the rest of your training. So you learn things like authenticity, accountability, listening, asking powerful questions, giving and receiving feedback as a leader, how to learn from life, how to build life-giving relationships. Those are skills that you learned and began to learn and deepen in formation. As the initial step in life-forming leadership coach certification, this is where you first experience with me as your coach and with your peer the transparent, growth-oriented relationships that underlie our training. In fact, the formation track contained a whole set of exercises specifically designed to help you both begin and to build healthy relationships. So many of our relationships are not healthy, they are toxic. Many people feel defeated, devalued because of the relationships they have. But you began to learn how to build healthy relationships. You'll use these every time you set up a new coaching relationship or expand your personal constellation of relationships. One of the most in-demand areas in coaching is life coaching. And very often people who do have a sense of God's destiny, they do have a sense of God's design for their life, they have no real plan to work toward fulfilling that design and that destiny. Many others feel defeated and devalued because they haven't yet settled on a clear idea of what in the world they should be doing. I appreciate your comments, Kathy. The Life Focus process was an adventure in discovering the myriad ways that God has already been speaking to you about your life purpose and showed you how to turn his dreams and his priorities into a SMART goal, focused goal, in order to move forward toward fulfilling the destiny and the purpose God has for you. Life Focus got you zeroed in and moving toward the dreams God has placed in your own heart and gave you many tools to do the same with other people. As you are being given an opportunity to share, even as we've heard, many of you refer back to this module, and many others of you in the future may refer back as you're sharing today. But then we come to implementation, and that's the track where everything you learned came together. And boy, did it come together. And it came together fast and furious, didn't it? But you began to learn some advanced coaching skills. You coached real clients. You know, it's one thing to role play, it's another to have a real client. You coached real clients. You experienced how the materials and methods work in a variety of client situations. And all of your situations were different. But you did have plenty of lively, fun times of role playing together and practicing your skills on one another. And I appreciate those of you who were coached, allowing the coaches to practice, and they were practicing on you. They were learning, and hopefully you were benefited also in the process. You looked at a variety of case studies, common coaching challenges. You worked together to flesh out how to coach those problems, all with feedback from me as a trainer. And it provided important tools for listening with your intuition, asking questions that would elicit a response, not a reaction, and broke down a conflict or teachable moment so you could specifically identify the growth challenges that were involved that as a coach you would be coaching. Implementation also covered engaging techniques, which is a vital set of skills used to help a client see blind spots, see new perspectives in a healthy way without resorting to telling them, confronting them, or them avoiding you. Now, this is a pass-fail course. However, those of you who passed without any additional follow-up work earned an outright 86% or greater score in implementation. Now, this, to me, is a notable feat, especially given what is generally considered a passing score in the Kenyan educational system. You had a pass with an 86. Well, as you think about that, I'm going to ask three more of you, or Irene will have asked three more of you to come up and to share your testimony also.
Anne Magai Brown.
Now, I'll say hello to you on video. She is in the U.S., not here, but Karigo, her sister, is going to come up and receive her certifications. Now, if you'd like to say a word, would you like to say a word on behalf of your sister? Okay, let me congratulate. And yes, congratulate her and you. Okay. All right.
Hi everyone. My name is Kirigo. I am Anne's younger sister. I will not really speak on her experience. I'll speak on what I saw. And so Anne was doing this through a lot of transition. And I remember she actually helped me because I was getting married last year. And so without knowing how that would help, it actually helped me in the process of getting married. But not only that, even after I got married, I found myself talking to her, and I found her coaching me. I'm like, but you're coaching me. So it's amazing to see it through someone else's eyes. I don't want to speak about her experience. She's shared a little, but I'd rather not speak about that. She also, through her and her husband the year before, I'm inspired to do it also this year. Yes.
Thank you, Kerigo. And congratulations to you, Anne. We know you're following us online, so congratulations. David Waweru, it's your turn.
Good afternoon, everyone. There's a courthouse, I'm told, in Ohio that sits at an extremely unique position. And it's at the intersection of the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes. So when it rains, the raindrops that fall to the northern side of this courthouse basically go into the Great Lakes. And the ones that fall onto the south side of the courthouse get into River Mississippi. Now, the ones that come right at the middle of the courthouse, they only require a little puff of the wind for them to fall either way and change the destiny of where they land. Now, the ones that land on River Mississippi, they end up where? They end up in the Gulf of Mexico. The ones that land on the Great Lakes end up where? In the Atlantic. 2,000-mile difference. It's about 3,200 kilometers. A little puff of wind that changes the destiny of where the drops fall. For me, that puff of wind was at the end of last year, of January 2022. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he's a professional coach. He's gone through this program, and we were reviewing a master class that was based in the US that both of us had attended 2 different years. And as we spoke, he told me about the Life Forming Leadership Coaching Program. And of course, told me about Dr. Les. And you know, when he told me this, I said, look, for the last 12 years, I've wanted to do this. And what followed next after that conversation, which was on Sunday, we used to hold Zoom meetings Sunday, 5 o'clock for a couple of weeks. So what happened after that, on the Monday, I wrote a flurry of emails between me, Dr. Les, and Twyla began, and especially from Twyla. And that was only 5 days to the start of the program. But when I listened to them and I received all the materials, I knew that this is what I have to do. Philip was the puff of wind that changed the destiny and the course for me for the rest of my time, my second half. Now, so when I joined, the program, and so I would say that the 3 of them, and I want to thank you so much, Destiny Connectors, they helped me realize something that had evaded me for 12 years. And now I have it. Did you see the proof? I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Now, when we joined, during orientation, I think, is we were made to pair up. And I landed on a triad. A triad, of course, like 3-legged stool, 3 people. And those were Calvin and Dr. Walker, who spoke before me. And during that 11 months, we had a great time together, speaking into each other's lives. We laughed a lot. We ate real great food together. Maria, I'm not gonna reveal the secret, all right? We had real great meals together. We went out together. We challenged each other. We laughed, but we also cried together as guys. And that was a very meaningful time for me. And I want to thank my peer coaches, Calvin and Dr. Walker. But I also want to thank the rest of cohort 14, because of those moments we interacted and were such great moments of learning and expanding not just my knowledge, but insights as a coach and as a person living within community. And I want to say that this has been one of the greatest things for me, Dr. Les. Your incisive wisdom and your incisive mind, your ability to conduct such meaningful, deep and meaningful conversations, and it's, for me, that was a turning point. And I just want to say thank you so much. You led me into so many ahas in the last 10 months. In fact, as recently as a couple of weeks ago when we were having conversations. And I just want to thank you also for that. And as I go out, I want to say that I think graduating and having been certified is half the battle. I personally think that the other half of the battle is what awaits us, is the action that we shall deploy in terms of deploying the skills that we have learned here, the competencies that we have achieved, the knowledge, and the ability to influence other people so that we can be that path in their lives that might change their destiny forever. Thank you.
Awesome. Elizabeth Mokui Irungu, you are next. Please come forward. And congratulations.
Afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Irongo, as you have heard, and I'm so blessed to have been in this cohort 14. My journey is slightly different. The path in my journey was one Miss Catherine Kimotho. And she had just received her path a few days before that from Anne in the US. So, and it worked very fast. I think we all registered in January of this year, and I'm so grateful because I believe it was God ordained. To start with, I want to thank my family, my amazing husband, Humphrey Muturi Irongo, my son, David Irongo, and my other son, Isaac Irongo, who's not here. He was running a program in church which we thought we would not pull him out of. And I say this because they were my cheerleaders. They're the ones who really desired to see this happen in my life. I am a homeschooler. I've homeschooled my kids since 2013. David just graduated I think 2 years ago. And it was amazing. I think in the last 10 years or so, they have never seen me go through a class. And they were surprised that I was going through class, I was doing exams, I was getting stressed. I mean, it was just life. And just them seeing me going through that process. And, going through my notes late into the night, asking them to pray over me before I come for, my sessions. It was just life. It was authentic, it was real, just walking that journey. And I really thank God for that. The reason why I thought to come to join this course was not because I had thought of becoming a coach, but I was thinking of the transition that's coming. My last born son is in his last year in high school, and I wanted to have clarity about the transition and about what comes next. And that is what prompted me to come. But in it, I got so much more. One, I'll just highlight a few things that really stood out for me. The biggest being that this course, like Dr. Les has mentioned, was not an intellectual course. It appealed to the heart. it's a transformational course. And it got me, digging deep, going back. We talked about reflections, I'm telling you, I think in life we just go through life, dealing with things as they come, not stopping to think about what just happened, what's happening. We don't look back, we just keep going. One thing my husband says and has said for the longest time is that life is short. So, let's not waste time, fighting or, stopping and putting our brakes on. Let's just keep going. But I found the value of stopping and reflecting because there are so many gems, there are so many, there's a lot of clarity and joining of dots when I stopped to reflect. And I think for me, that's one of the most powerful disciplines that I have learned through this course. The other thing that really stood out for me was believing in people, just like Jesus believed in us, God believed in us, and He continues to believe in us because He knows the design that He has created us in. So that the topic of inner design, I think at this point every topic was good, but just understanding how I am designed and aligning to that, discovering that as I go, and just leaning into that instead of trying to figure things out for myself. Initially when I heard about finding your purpose, it was one topic I did not want to. I struggled with purpose because in my mind, I was created for this one purpose, and it was up to me to find it. And God was just waiting for me to find it, But understanding the design that God created me in enabled me to know that it is in me, and He has been speaking to me, and He continues to speak to me and to reveal it throughout my life. And just to lean into that and to engage with God in that level. I'll just share one more area, maybe two. The dreaming. I think Audrey shared about dreaming, and I remember when we were going through the dreaming, man, I could not dream. I've been dreaming about my family, I've been dreaming for my children, I've been dreaming for my husband, I've been dreaming for everyone else, and I could not find the tap, the faucet for my dreamer. I had lost it. But I thank God that I figured it out. And I started turning it. It was not rotten, what do you say? Rusty. It had some, brownish water coming out initially. And Dr. Les kept telling us, just keep doing it. Just let that water flow. And eventually the clear water started coming out. And I really thank God because I can dream again. I can dream again about Elizabeth Mokoi Irongo. And I can walk that journey with Christ as He leads me. And the last point for me was authentic relationships. That was powerful. My understanding of what authentic relationships are changed. It's about just being real. Just being me. Just sharing, not my victories, but my journey through victories. My journey towards victories. And help someone else who is in the same journey by being authentic about my journey. I'm a cell leader. I've been a cell leader for 20 years. But this has just given new life into my cell leadership. And our relationships have changed. We are now truly doing life together as I believe in them, just the way Christ has believed in me. And as I walk through this journey with them, and I really thank God. So thank you very much. Special thanks to Dr. Les. It was quite a wonderful experience. Dr. Les is the most patient man, other than my husband, and that I have worked with. I think because of the proximity. I mean, the last time I was in school, like I mentioned, was about 28 years ago. But with Dr. Les, I was able to sit with him face to face. I like that he's 20 years my senior, and sometimes I felt like he could see right through me, and he would just keep looking and not say anything and still wait for me to bring out more. And just that patience is something that it has taught me, even as I work with my family and people in my life. So I will use this course to do life and to lead sales. And eventually, once I'm done with coaching, or rather homeschooling my children, I believe God has something good in store for me. Thank you, Dr. Les. Thank you, Miss Twyla. Thank you, Jerry. I've always called Jerry my son. Thank you very much, Jerry. And Jonathan, who's not here. Thank you, Philip, who also came in to help me just complete this well. And thanks to all of you who supported and really backed your family members in this. Asanteni sana.
2022 was a challenging year. Yet you are here, you're ready to graduate. Many of you thought this day would never come, right? Especially as you began this journey. A challenge I faced this year, especially as each of you have undergone supervised coaching with your clients, has been to help you not to drive your own agenda for your client, but allow your client's agenda to drive the process. But in allowing your client to drive the agenda, does that mean that you must be and operate neutrally as a coach? In other words, are you as a coach to be passive? Is it possible for you to be in a position of influence and yet operate neutrally? Not allowing your personal values, not allowing your core values to influence your client. Well, I believe it is simply impossible for leaders who are in influence roles not to exert influence. Your clients do come to you for help. You are therefore in an influencing role in their lives. And as a result, your values will shape the coaching process no matter how hard you may try to be neutral. Is it any wonder now why I spend so much time either pointing you back to the values of life-forming leadership coaching, which many of you have spoken about, and helping you to articulate and develop your own core biblical value system. We need to be honest. We do exert influence on the people we coach, but that does not mean that we cast off restraint and push our clients into what we desire for them. We are coaches, not mentors. We are coaches and not consultants. We are coaches. We are neither psychologists nor therapists. But on the other hand, for us to back off completely and operate as if anything and whatever the client wants is appropriate, that cannot be our position either. While they still may be functioning within a value system, it may not necessarily be a biblical value system, and you cannot be values neutral with your clients. And herein lies a distinction between you and what you have been trained to do and what others in Nairobi have been trained to do as coaches. Herein lies a distinction between you as a Christian coach and others who may simply be coaches and, oh yes, they are also Christians. There is a way to employ the coaching approach biblically, and here's the key. The biblical coaching value is personal responsibility, not complete individual liberty. So you've not been trained to coach people to achieve complete freedom to do whatever they want or whatever they've dreamed. You've been trained to coach them to take responsibility for their own lives, responsibility for their actions within the framework of God's purposes. We make room for our clients to choose, not because all choices are equally good, not because they may make the choices that are worthy, but because they alone bear eternal responsibility and have the eternal right to make the choices in their own lives. That is not up to us to do as a coach. So I will influence my client toward the best, while at the same time allowing them genuine freedom to make their own choices, even to make their own mistakes. I will introduce them to the idea of living toward heaven. I will push them to grapple with whether it is more blessed to give than to receive. I will challenge them to become all they were created to be, whether they are believers or unbelievers. I want to give them every opportunity to find the best. And my desire is that you do the same as a coach. But it is also my responsibility to stop short of applying pressure. I must allow them full responsibility to choose whatever their decision is. You see, the challenge that we face is to tell the truth, but do it in a way that leaves the client in charge. After all, that is what God does with us. He allows us to be fully in charge of our choices. You know, He has set us in a world where His presence is not so overwhelming that we are forced to choose Him. But at the same time, He is actively wooing and drawing us to leave the bad, sometimes even leave the good, to obtain the best. There's a significant difference between coaching a person to their own values, whatever they may be, and the biblical idea of coaching that person to take responsibility for their life. And as coaches, we are coaching people to take that responsibility for their life. We have just a few more of you that need to receive your certifications and hear from.
So Trufosa Kwaka Zumba. Karibu and congratulations, Trufosa.
Substitute camera person. Yes.
Good afternoon. Oh, okay. 2020, during COVID, one of the leading coaches in Kenya, I think East Africa, she's one of the directors of ICF, called me and said, I've been thinking about you and I believe you do need to take coaching. And I said, yes, I do. It's part of my plan for my life. But right now, I've got to finish my doctorate studies, and that's what I need to do. At that point, I'd taken a break from my doctoral studies to attend to some personal issues at home. And of course, it was during COVID, and COVID for me really, really affected me. I call it the great disruptor because it affected me and impacted me in many ways. And so we had that conversation, and I said, well, let me complete my doctorate, and then I'll come back to you. A few months later, a lady whom I met, I think over 10 years ago, called me. And at the point I had met her, she was in a bad place. And that's how I was introduced to her by my elder brother. And so she calls me after 10, 15 years and says, Trufi, I need to talk to you. Actually, first, what I saw was a mention on Facebook. And she mentioned my name. She tagged me. And she said, I've come out of, I'm a new person. It's like I've resurrected. And some of the people who have been so instrumental, and I was one of those, of 2 or 3. So of course I was shocked because in the 10, 15 years she had cut me off and I kept just praying for her. And I used to wonder, okay, I hope you're really okay. So I sent her a message and gave her my number, and she called me back and said, you know, what you did was so significant, I had to talk about you. And this was like over 15 years ago. But when I was talking to her, she was like a new human being. And so, as she tells me the story, she says one of the things that has been so significant for her was to come through life-forming coaching, and she thinks I need it. Because, and she said, Trufi, that is just for you. And I think we had a conversation for over 2 hours. And it was during COVID, so of course we were not really meeting. But I sat down and I said, if coaching can make a difference in somebody who was dead, literally that lady was dead, then if that's the coaching, then I think this is the coaching I need to enroll for. So my first friend called me back and said, Trufi, have you thought about coaching? I really feel in my heart God wants you to do coaching. And I said, I really must finish my doctoral program. But I told her, you know what? I actually will do it. So she wanted me to do the ICF one. But after talking to my second friend, I felt, you know, I want something that has a Christian worldview. The life that has been restored to my second friend is the kind of life that I would love to see in different people. And so that's how I then contacted Twyla and got onto the program. And I just want to share that this for me has been very significant. I have the privilege of doing a number of things, and a lot of them are in senior leadership, but I also and I'm also an ordained clergy, but I also get lots of calls. Can you coach me? Can you help me? Can you, I have so many calls. And last year was very interesting because some of the places I spoke in, or radio shows and TV shows I did, people would keep calling in and say, can you tell her to please have a program for us? So that was very interesting. So how has this changed my life? It's interesting, you can be a believer and even a clergy, but some truths escape you. One of those truths that for me was very significant through last year is that God is always at work. The fact that you don't know, you're not seeing it, does not invalidate God's mission, but that He's always at work in our lives, and we need to awaken to the fact that God is at work. And the other thing, and there are many truths, but I just wrote 3. The other one was that nothing in our lives is wasted. So the second module for me was like a really impactful module. I mean, all of them were, but the second one for me was really significant because I took time. It helped me focus on my life from childhood and looked at how God uses it and converges it to bring out and leave clues and reveal to you your life design. And it was so impactful for me because then I was able to have like a collage of these little pieces that looked insignificant and independent, and all of a sudden a beautiful mosaic of my life was formed, and I just got a great and a deep revelation of what God wanted me to focus on. Last year for me was also a year that I sensed in my life that God was transitioning me from my current, from my previous position. And so part of the coaching and specifically this module was helping me in that transition. And so I remember once we had, was it twice, with my peer coach Joy, and we had a time with Carol and Lydia, the 4 of us. I think, yeah, and I remember how significant, we almost felt like God was right there in the middle, like at the head of the table, and He was speaking to us corporately, but very significantly individually. In fact, I remember we had a quiet moment, the one for like, wow. And that was amazing. The other thing, and my final one that I felt, or rather that I picked then, was that answers are within people. From many of the roles, for the last many years, is, you sit in boards, for example, as a director, and a lot of the times what you're doing is you're giving direction and directives. And people need to follow them. But it was interesting to actually find out that the answers are with people. And that my role is to dig the gold mine in their lives so that the gold can come out and that they can be totally whom God made them to be. We had some funny moments also. I remember my final exam, I came on the wrong day. No, I came at the wrong time, and I was so confident that it was supposed to be 9. Dr. Les actually looked at me and said, "Oh, you've come." And I said, "Yes, I've come." And he says, "No, your appointment was later on." But Fred was so gracious to allow us to change. We also had great times of eating cookies whenever we came here. So I was just telling my daughter, gosh, we should have ordered, So there were also really some nice moments of laughter. As I live, I think one conversation we had with Dr. Les, and we were looking at life purpose, and I said, I believe my life purpose is to build people and build great institutions for the continent of Africa, that lives may be transformed and that God's glory may be revealed on this continent. And, we talked about some of the ways some of the things that I'll be looking into even as I transition. But there's a statement he said, and Dr. Les, you probably don't remember, but he said, you said to me, Trufi, there is much more that God is going to do in your life. And I remember it because I thought, what does he know that I don't know? At this point I thought I knew it. And Dr. Les is very interesting because I just got a new appointment last Saturday. And I remembered last year feeling like I was in an oven because the pressure of the program, the certification plus other things that I was doing was really, really hot. And I used to tell Joy, I am burning, but I also feel like God is stretching me for where he wants me next. So as I conclude, I really want to thank God for this program. It's been a personal journey of revelation, and God molding and doing something new in me and catapulting me for where he wants me to be. I have appreciated the authentic conversations that we had with you, and even the stretching, the stretching that we had to go through, the questions, he would ask you a question, and sometimes truly you're just blank. Thank you, Twyla, for the lovely meals and enjoy the mornings, the reminders. We had to remind each other, like, have you, we are on this page, have you completed this one? And then just speaking to each other and walking along the way. And of course, initially we were with Caroline, and just those deep conversations, but more so sharpening each other. And so thank you, everybody. Thanks to my husband for sitting with me through the nights as I needed to complete my assignments. My sister was the one I would talk to and tell her how hot it is. And my daughter would be there, Mom, just keep going, you're fine. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate.
It's your turn. Joyce Zawadi Mwambire. Let's appreciate her as she comes. We are almost getting there, so let's hear Joyce.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I really struggled with trying to put together a few words about the experience, this coaching experience. But the word that has come to mind is unraveled. So I took this course with a very clear agenda. I've been a beneficiary of coaching before, and it was transformative for me. But at the back of my mind, I was like, my coach makes really good money. So I came into this coaching with that agenda that I was going to get these skills, have my nice little toolbox, and be able to impact other women, because I work in the women's rights space. And I know that women really struggle with leadership and stepping into leadership. So I knew that I was going to get this toolbox, and I was going to impact women, and I was going to make a lot of money out of it. But little did I know that God was going to take me on a very different journey. The things that came to mind for me is, one, I'm a natural born teller, so I like telling people what to do. And I knew that, when I get these skills, I'll, help women problem solve, think about their experiences in leadership and how difficult it is, and then I'd have an opportunity to tell them, this was my experience and this is what you can do. I like giving advice. I talk a lot. My husband will tell you, it's very difficult for him to get a word in because I just like talking. So, in fact, he makes a joke that even when he breathes, that's my opportunity now to come in and carry on the conversation. And also, I believe that I really help people see the light. So I came in with that agenda that, I was going to get these tools and use them to tell people how to shape their lives and be this ultimate coach. But that perspective was completely transformed through the coaching. One of the things that really struck me, one, was that God initiates change. So it's not up to me as an individual, it's up to God. And people have different experiences and journeys and gifts that He has put in them. And your job as a coach is not to sort of pull this out of people, but really to be their support system, to journey with them in that process. The other thing that I learned is the power of listening. So I'd actually even developed a way of listening, just say, yeah, okay, yeah, I hear you. And also to make people feel like you're giving them audience, but I never really used to pay attention to what people are saying. So I learned to listen, not to respond, not to tell people what to do, but to listen through intuition. And I think that was the most difficult thing that I learned here, and I think I'm still on that journey. But that was one of the very powerful things that I learned through this experience. The other thing, very similar to truth, is that every experience we go through is an opportunity that God uses to reveal certain aspects of our character, of our lives, but more importantly, to equip us for the next phase. So I remember when we were doing the reflection of, there's something that we learned called 3-to-3 experiences. And when I went back to even some very difficult things, things that even my family members don't know, like going through a demotion at work, going through grief, and seeing how God was using those tools to equip me for the future was something that was very illuminating for me. And also to know that that is something that you can also use also to influence others. And also the last thing for me that I learned was that everyone has in them what it takes to grow, to change, to overcome, whether it's certain circumstances in their lives. And our role as a coach is to provide support, encouragement, and accountability. Now that was like taking a fish out of water for me, because again, I'm very good at the support, but encouragement and accountability. So I remember when we were coming up with our goals, our learning goals with Trufi, it's realizing that it's being less of a cheerleader, but actually being able to even have Trufi come up with the questions that I need to ask her about her journey, how she's progressing in her journey. And again, that was very transformative for me. So
going back to my agenda when I came to this course, right? Remember, I was here to just learn, get skills to make money. But that has really changed. So I've come to realize that my goal for the future is to leverage my gifts. And so all the things that God has put in me, the deep thinking, the being able to be a people person and all of that, to leverage all those gifts to influence marginalized women and youth, helping them overcome internalized barriers by providing them access to knowledge, financial resources, thus enabling them gain awareness of their gifts, potential to create positive social change in their spheres of influence. So my goal was blown out of the water. And it's not necessarily to start, eventually I do see myself starting a coaching practice, but looking at where God has placed me currently is being able to use all these gifts and tools, the powerful questions, which again, I'm still on a long journey of learning how to use them to influence the current space that I am in. So that has been the journey. I still feel I'm on the journey. I remember sharing with Trufi, especially the life focus module, where we need to redo this thing when we're not under a time crunch, just to really internalize all the lessons. And so I just want to say a special thank you to Dr. Les. I remember the one-on-one sessions, I'd always come in with a certain mindset and leave with a completely different perspective, and I'm a person that prepares, so I would prepare, and then he would ask you a question, and you're like, wow, I hadn't actually thought about that. So thank you so much for that support. Twyla, for your hosting. I remember thinking, we're going to be in a workshop from 8 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. How are we going to survive? But you provided us a lot of hospitality, which helped the process just, flow through. So really thank you for that. Thank you to Caroline and Lydia for, first we were triad, then we grew, then we went back to being a couple with Trufi. Trufi, I think I now appreciate that God actually puts or orchestrates certain circumstances. Yes, you are my senior, but I feel like our lives are almost in parallel. So I remember in most of the sessions when we used to share, it was like you'd already been through that experience, and just hearing from you, learning from you, that was really, really powerful. So thank you so much for that journey. Of course, thank you to my husband. He was my guinea pig, my support system. He would drive me here, pick me up from class in the evening. Really going, I would learn something, and the first thing, like I said, I'm a teller, so I would want to go tell him, do you know this is what we're learning? And he's like, okay, but what have you really internalized? So thank you so much for your support. And of course, my client who's not here, Cynthia. I think for me, the last 2 sessions were really powerful for me because we had a breakthrough, and I realized it has nothing to do with me. Like God was at work, the Holy Spirit was at work in helping her even realize what the change that she wanted to make in her life, and sitting back and realizing that you're just a tool in this process was very insightful for me. And last but not least, my moms who are here, who are representing our family. I know they prayed a lot. So thank you so much for being there for me and supporting me in this journey. So thank you.
Congratulations, Joy. Fred Magomere, it's your turn. Please come.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fred Magomere. I'm currently based in Eldoret, so most of my sessions were actually through Zoom. Our gathering here this afternoon affirms the words of one King Solomon, that the end of a matter is better than its beginning. Thank you, our guests, for making this afternoon as beautiful as it is. I've been here 4 times in the past, but I can tell you it has never been as beautiful as it is this afternoon. This journey began in January last year. And here we are, after a year, already actually graduating. Glory and honor be unto God. To say the least, this has indeed been a very transformative experience, particularly for me. And so I'll just share a few highlights with you. First, my background is in engineering. And as a science student, we are used to solving problems using logic. We go step by step. We say many things, then at the end we say hence, therefore. And that's how my life has been for the last 30+ years. And when I came to this course, it was a totally different world. For a whole year, there is no single formula I learned. But there is a toolbox that was labeled intuition indicators. That was a strange one for me. And thanks so much, Coach, that I have an additional toolbox that I can use to help the people around me. For a long time, I always longed to train as a coach, but I wanted a course that is Christian-based. And so when my friend, Coach Philip, shared with me a clip about LLC coaching course, it was on an afternoon I went through and I got in touch with them, and straight has said, I'm ready to enroll. When I wrote back to Philip, I told him, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I didn't care what I had said for the new year. I enrolled, and I thank God that I did. One of the highlights is a definition that I learned in this course about 2 words that are easily used interchangeably, and that is mentoring and coaching. I know there are many of us, probably you don't know the difference between the two. But there is one definition that he even mentioned in his speech. Mentoring is imparting to you what God has put in me. Whereas coaching is drawing out of you what God has put in you. Oh, that one really drove the point home. Dr. Les, thank you for pioneering the first Christian-based coaching training in Kenya. We pray for more grace upon the team to continue empowering more Kenyans in the workplace. I learned on this course that I should not only look at coaching as a profession, but rather also as a calling, and hence the need to involve God in all coaching engagements that I undertake. I must admit that I learned a lot from this learning community, and I can tell you I'm a better vessel than when I came here for the first time for induction, and I believe it's God that orchestrated all this. So what next for me? I will continue learning to get better at listening, observing, and asking powerful questions, especially the partnership type. I'm happy our coach has promised to keep his door open for consultation where necessary. And so my next step, one is to continue internalizing the coaching principles that I've learned on this course. I also look forward to undertaking some pro bono client coaching assignments so that I can gain more experience. And at one point, I believe I will seek certification. And so I look forward to making a positive difference in the lives of the people around me by helping them to grow, fulfill their destinies, and even exceed the expectations for themselves. Allow me to conclude by appreciating the people who have made all this possible. One is the SMI faculty, Dr. Les, our coach, Madame Twila, she's not here, but I can tell you she's a terrific host. We spent here over 12 hours during our workshop days, but we never had a reason, an excuse to complain we were thirsty nor hungry. She took great care of us. Thank you so much, Tyler. And then we have coaches Irene, Jerry, and Philip. Haven't seen Philip here. Thirdly, are my fellow graduates, especially my coaching peer, my brother Frank Kitonga. We spend many hours together, and I'm so happy that in all of you, I have friends going forward. Thank you so much. Thirdly, are my pro bono coaching clients. I had one based in Nairobi, Lewis, and another one based in Eldoret, Moses, and I'm happy Lewis is here with his wife. I hope he benefited from the sessions we had together. Last but not least is my family, represented here by my dear wife, Olive. Our children are away. For bearing with me when I came home very late on those marathon workshop days. Thank you so much. Finally, to our invited guests, thank you so much for gracing this occasion. I hope all of you, if not most of you, will plan to enroll for this course. I can assure you, you will never regret. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Okay, we are coming to the tail end, and last but not least is Francisco Mutunga. It's your turn, Francisco Mutunga Kitonga. Let's give him a hand clap. He's waited and waited. Congratulations, Francisco Mutunga. You did it. Kathy, help us.
How are you? I'm super excited. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming to celebrate with us. I am so delighted. I hope you learned some Swahili. I like to put in a little Swahili, so please help if he doesn't figure out. So praise the Lord. I am super delighted to be here, to come to the end of this. I didn't think this would come to an end. This was not easy, especially that last leg was quite something. But we thank God and we celebrate. I just want to honor the guys who we are finishing this together. Calvin, my friend, we did it. Praise the Lord, my dearest friend and peer. In fact, to be honest, Dr. Les, if I didn't have Calvin and Fred, I would not have finished. These two guys, actually Fred just pushed me at the end and just gave me that kick and said, come on, let's finish this. So thank you and the rest of my classmates. Let me start my thoughts by sharing what Lydia said. And because that really, for me, shocked me about this journey. And Jesus is having a conversation with the Samaritan woman. And I never saw that before we did this. Jesus is having a conversation. And then you begin to see he asked questions. Jesus was asking questions. And he engages. Would you like, or may I have a drink? Are you guys? Then he asks another question and another question. And by the end of the conversation Jesus is having, it is so, her reaction is so wild. She goes and brings an entire village to Jesus and says, this guy who I was having a conversation with has changed my life. I said, that's the opportunity of coaching, to be Jesus in front of somebody who you're having a conversation with. That for me, my life has changed. And there's actually a book written, Jesus, a Master Coach, that you asked of us, some of us, to just get it. And it's changed my life. My life, when I came here, I was part of a troika. And in our troika, we have to give a goal for growth every year. And so my growth, I wasn't very clear, what am I gonna do? And so when my friend Albert said, hey, you know what, I think you should do this coaching, this thing is gonna change your life. I said, yeah, let me jump into it. I'm actually a certified coach. I was certified before I started this. So I was wondering, maybe let me just go and see who are these guys. You know, the way you come into a course, like you're the expert, and you say, yeah, what do you need? Okay. My friend, what I found here was a very different conversation. Because I'm a biblical entrepreneurship coach, and that's what I do. I run a program here in Kenya on helping. You know, this must be a sign of the anointing. All this. So I spent a lot of time with people coaching on entrepreneurship already before I came. But the journey that I entered into here really began to change. And let me tell you, one of the things is the daring to dream part, where it's like you're given permission to dream. And you're said, hey, dream. So how do you cut that dream into a goal? But you go ahead and dream. And so I wrote an audacious dream. Crazy, you know? Catherine, I must have felt I shouldn't have said that in class. But because it's huge, and I'm going to say it because I started to believe in it. I started to say, this thing is possible. One of the things, the core thing I believe God has called me to do is to raise 10,000 biblical entrepreneurs who are earning $2 million a year, employing an average of 350 employees, and living a biblical worldview, or the code of the Bible. So you say that, say, okay, young man, it's okay. After I said that, we went through something called the dream busting. And a dream buster is a thing that causes you not to arrive. That session ended for me with tears, with brokenness, and it allowed me to go further. Little did I know, conversation was going on with Hope FM, and they invited us to give a proposal that we can work with them to start what we are now calling the Biblical Entrepreneur. By October, it was the highest listened to program in Hope FM. I was like, how did that happen? I honestly tell you, nothing possible with our own strength or mind, but beginning to dare and to believe it can happen and you can step out by faith. Maybe you're here and you're thinking, what is this thing? Let me just tell you, I came here feeling an expert. My life, I've lived more humbly than I've ever lived and been transformed. But do you know, none of that, of all I've said, is really impacted me as much as what I'm about to finish with. Because when I sat, my wife comes to me and says, this your son is not listening. Can you deal with your son? And she is frustrated. My son is behind. We do a CE and we homeschool our children. And I can see, okay, so what do I do to tell this guy, in a way he's not been told and it will cause him to want to do. And it's for the first time that I started to experience coaching as a dad. Because you kept talking about the way you coach you coach each other with your son. And I think you even gave us an example where Tyler was coached by your daughter. So I said, okay, let's try this thing. And I started to coach my children. So we have 5 children. And the woman taking this video, I want to honor her for how much she has to deal with just raising 5 children at home full time. So hopefully she accepts to come to school, the coaching school, from this month or from whenever we start, in 2 weeks. But the impact I saw in my son Neo, in transforming the way he started to look at things, and he started to go, he was so behind and began to catch up with his work. Because I listened to him, Joy. I listened to him. I never used to listen to him. I listened to the guy. I let him give suggestions, and we agreed on actions together. And all I needed to do was provide what we've all learned: support. And my son. Then I started to do it with my other kids. And soon I'm now learning to become a coach as a dad and seeing my children's life change. Let me tell you, this thing, open verbs, you are coaching what is nice. But what the gift I have for seeing my children transform and love God and feel like they want to tell me a story of what's going on. The other day they came to tell me, Daddy, the guys we're playing with, they're Islamic, yes. They know the Quran. And they told us they even know the Bible. If they know the Quran and they know the Bible, Daddy, we shouldn't really be listening to them. And they can come and tell me what's going on. And the Lord told me, do you know that they are being evangelized? And now I have the chance to ask them, what does knowing the Bible mean? Is it what they can quote, or because it's what they have lived? And we started asking each other, do we live the Bible in the house? So for me, Dr. Les, your obedience to God with Tyler to come and start this in Kenya has changed at least one young man. And I hope that the change he's done for me is amazing. And it will stay, especially with my children and with the way I am a husband. So thank you, guys. And thank you, my classmates, for allowing me to be such a noisemaker in class. And thank you. I have enjoyed each one of you. I really want to keep all of you as my friends and visit Eldoret, especially for my peer coach. Come and do life with. But the one person I really want to work with and see if she can really help me is the resume transition coach all the way from Mombasa. I've enjoyed all of you so much. And I hope my wife has seen some change in my life, because it doesn't matter who else sees, isn't it? So praise God. Thank you for paying school fees, my wife. I appreciate it. And that brings me to the end. Thank you. Asante sana.
Carol Washera moved to the U.S. during this training and also cannot be with us, but I do want to recognize her achievement also today. And congratulations, Washera. We will get you your certifications. Well, let me close. And in closing, let me ask the question of what makes you distinct as coaches, what makes you distinct from other coaches in Nairobi and throughout Kenya. It is more than simply the intensity of your training, and it has at times been intense. It is more than the depth of your training, and it has been deep. It is more than the length of your training, and it has been one of the longest. And it is even more than simply the thoroughness of your training. Because as Christian coaches, we model our approach based upon how God works with us. So my closing challenge to you who are entering into the forefront of a Christian coaching movement in Kenya is this: coach with the heart and the character and the mind of Christ, never forgetting how God works with us and how we must then work with others. So on behalf of Dr. Joseph Umidi and the staff of Life Forming Leadership Coaching, I do want to congratulate you on job well done. Amen. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Twyla briefly, and we have a number of gifts that we're wanting to give.
We just want to acknowledge some of you who probably don't even know you did an extra good job. During formations, that was the first module, we actually had 2 students tie for who had the highest scores. So, for the best performance, the highest scores in formations, it is Fred and Liz. So come on up here. Come on up here.
Greg, come on up.
Liz, congratulations. You did start off so well. And Fred, to you. In Life Focus, which was the second module, where you really did focus on your own life and what God was doing in you. The best scores were Frank Katanga. So come back up here, Frank. I saw the look of shock on his face. So not only did his life change, but he has the scores to prove it. These are just little small gifts, but we hope they'll always remind you of your experience here. Bless you. The last module was implementation, and the main thing you were doing was practicing with your clients and everything you had learned the whole year coming together. So I don't have an individual prize for it, but for the whole year, when we take all the scores, all your exams, and put it all together, the woman with the highest overall scores is Trufosa. So Trufosa, come up here. She's looking very, very shocked. But we just want to acknowledge all your hard work, all those hours you were talking about. So bless you, bless you. And for the last one, Dr. Les is going to do it.
But this is the highest overall score. It's the individual that, when you take the cumulative scores, and it includes not just the outcomes, it includes the coaching, it includes all that is involved this year. The one with the highest score is Dr. Stephen Walker.
He just won the Academy Award.
So I'm going to give you that.
Give me a hug. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much for the time here. We thank you, Lord, for your presence. Lord, we're asking that you bless the food, strengthen us through it. But we're also grateful for the strength that you've given to each one of these graduates. Lord, as they've worked, as they've studied, as they've coached, Lord, all that they have put out this year. I pray, Father, that the return on all of that investment would be great in your kingdom. That, Father, that transformed lives because of their own transformation and their transformation as a coach and how their clients will be transformed. Father, I pray that it would bear tremendous impact for your kingdom. And so we're asking for your Spirit to dwell and to continue to flow through them, and for your anointing to continue to be on them. And as they grow as coaches, I pray that they would grow from one aspect of your character to the other, as they really are following you, Jesus, as the master coach. We bless them. We bless this time. We ask you to simply bless everything that remains and is going on here, as you've already blessed them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.